Hey everyone. I'm just gonna wait a second while people from other Discords have the opportunity to see the link and join in before I start up. So yeah, I'm glad some of you jumped in quickly. Thank you guys for showing up. This is going to be a bit more of a... It's going to start personal, and then it's going to, well, I guess turn personal in a different way. I've wanted to, for a couple, well, almost a month now, get back into live programming. I've been so focused on the news that I haven't done it yet. And when better to start than right the fuck away? So today, after looking at all the news, I was like, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it. I'm gonna do this instead. Well, I'll probably be here for a few hours, like 3, maybe 4. Depending, I mean, honestly, live programming I can do for hours at a time. But again, I'm just gonna wait on people, see if anyone else is going to show up. And if they do, awesome. If they don't, I'm just going to start on with my little rant that I want to give. I'll give people another couple minutes. Until then, I'm going to say hello to Arakeen Greenmoon and Kaho-chan, Devin Vowdry, and Vanilla. Thank you for showing up and being the first ones in the show. You guys are awesome, honestly. I mean, you guys make it a lot easier to deal with the shit that I'm normally dealing with, and, well, we'll get into that in just a minute. Let's see. Oh, we got more people showing up. Very awesome, thank you all. I might as well just get started as people start streaming in. Let me switch over to the camera right quick, and yes, I zoomed my camera in a little bit more. As I was looking at the news today, I was spending a lot of time thinking about various things, which include, but are not limited to, Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil, and some talks by Jordan Peterson on that subject. A number of things, honestly. And yeah, I couldn't help but think that my video content has, even when I reach a point when I'm actually doing good content, there's an element of emptiness to it, because I'm so far disconnected from everything I'm talking about so often, right? I mean, yeah, there's certainly my element of politics in it, but there's also that element of not expressing my ideas, but ideas expressing themselves through me, not necessarily my ideas, and it frustrates me. And this has been a growing problem for about 9 months now, honestly. But it really became a problem around the time that I started having severe issues with 2 people that I'm going to call the abusive slut and her cuck. Good Lord, did this piss me off. But it also, it destroyed me in a way. It destroyed me in a way that nothing else has. And let's face it, I've been through a lot of shit. Y'all, many of you have been with me through homelessness. Many of you know about my history in the military and military school. Many of you are aware that I have gone through hell and back many times. And somehow, I allowed a cowardly, abusive slut and her cuck to destroy me in a way nothing else has. It left me empty inside as I watched all the people that I considered friends, close friends, not to say that you guys aren't, but I certainly have gotten much closer to y'all with time. Watching these people just disappear in the face of outright lies and bullshit. And I've worked my ass off to try and rebuild myself, but there's been something missing, right? There's been this element of me that I haven't been able to see in anything that I do, as hard as I work to do so. I tend to see it more when I script. However, scripted things are inherently less personal because I'm reading off of something I previously wrote instead of just expressing from my heart like I am trying to do now. And I became disconnected in a lot of ways from things that I love most. Specifically, I love being there for the most ostracized and hated of people. There's a reason that I stuck up for the alt-right, and still to a degree will stick up for the alt-right, even if that gets me classified as a Nazi. There's a reason that I go out of my way to help men, even though that doesn't make me very welcome anywhere, and has certainly ruined a lot of chances for jobs, especially programming jobs, in an industry that is downright obsessed with social justice right now, and lives by codes of conduct which serve to only protect women and make life easier for them so that they have to program less and just take from others more. These are the things that fulfill me, but what also fulfills me is programming. As difficult and as challenging as it is, it's a mind game, it's a chess game that I can pursue, and I fucking love it. That any problem I have, no matter how frustrating it is in any moment, I can step away from it for like 5-10 minutes. I can step away from it for like an hour and come back, and I can see just how fucking obsessed I was, and how I needed that space, and once I got that space, how easy it was to see what problems I needed to fix. And then I fix them, and then move on to the next challenge. I've got a much bigger challenge, and that is trying to reconnect with myself after losing everything again. And it's not like that was the first time I lost everything, but it was the first time I had lost everything again, as it were. I had lost a lot in my life, and until I became homeless, there was always this element of continuation. There was always something I could continue with. But once I became homeless, I ended up having to pour a lot more into just having the basic resources to survive. And this led me into a position where, admittedly, I was very dependent on the social capital I had built with people like Kraut and the Slut and the Cuck and other fucking people. And after building all of that up and seeing it just vaporize immediately last summer, I was very hurt by it, and it's taken me a long time to start coming to grips with just how much I let go. And I certainly did let go. I don't see the chat, just scrolling down a sec. I can't do that. I can't fucking just let go, as it were. Because if there's one thing I won't do, it's quit. Even if I'm bawling my eyes out and screaming in anger and begging for it all to stop, by the time I wake up the next morning, I'm back to wanting to I want to do something. I have to do something. I have this drive in me to do that just has no limit. I don't know how else to describe it. And with that, this morning I was looking at the news and I realized, yeah, I could talk about Russia. I could talk about the intelligence community. I could talk about the shooting in Parkland, Florida. But none of these things directly connect with me right now. And if I need anything, it's things that I connect with directly to help me rebuild myself. And not only for myself, let's be completely honest, having that pureness of self exposed on YouTube it's good for the channel. I get the most views out of those things in which I am completely open, or as open as I can be in the very least with y'all. And this was further exemplified by the kinds of responses I got when I started doing videos with Red. Now, Red Frog has been in a bit of a mood this past week and hasn't wanted to do videos, and I'm completely fine with that. She'll be back Saturday, don't you worry. I know how many of you find her just stunningly cute and hot, and the stark contrast between my ugly mug and her fucking beauty certainly does bring some new life to the channel, but I've had to spend a lot of time thinking about what else I could bring to the channel for myself, right? Because I can't rely entirely on her. I hate relying on people. I really do. Not to say that I don't rely on y'all to some degree, but I like to think that I provide back with the effort I put in to produce daily content, even if sometimes I go off a deep end like I am here. And that said, I've been discussing with some of my Patreons an idea that I've been bouncing around in my head for a lot longer than I've been discussing it, that really came to a head of, I guess it was 3 weeks ago, when there was a lot of people were starting to talk about Roll20 and the Roll20 community specifically. Because on Reddit, someone made a post saying, I'm not a feminist, but Roll20 has misogynists, which is a fucking ironic thing to say if you ask me. Sorry, just clicking the show message because, good lord, YouTube censors. Apparently, YouTube censors the word ugly now. The fuck, YouTube. Anyway, so they were talking, you know, someone, and then one of the senior partners of the Roll20 company came out and said, oh, we'll just fucking nuke this guy off the site. And it really disturbed me that there was this community behind Roll20 that is so bigoted towards men, bigoted towards the idea that women could have women only and advertise women only games, but men had to allow women into their games if they advertised. It was such a double standard, it fucking sickened me. And I know V made a video on the subject, I know a few other people made videos on the subject, but instead of wanting to make a video on this subject, I came to the conclusion that the best option isn't to just bitch about them. The best option that I had available to me was to make a competitor, because they certainly need a competitor. The only real competitor that exists for them is RP Tools. And while RP Tools is great, it's developed in Java, which is kind of limiting in the long run. And it also it has certain setup requirements that can be very difficult for people who want to host a game. Beyond that, the tool set of Roll20 is just so shitty. I hate the Roll20 tool set. I really do. And what I wanted to do was make something that was as graphically efficient as RP Tools and socially efficient as Roll20. And I came to this conclusion that there needed to be a web app that competes with Roll20. I started playing around with the idea in my head. I started looking into solutions and libraries. And honestly, I got a lot of great support, especially from people in my Discord specifically. They were very happy to hear me coming forth with an idea that I was actually passionate about. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be using Roll20. Coming tomorrow night around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm actually going to be GMing a Pathfinder game. And I'm going to be using Roll20, one, because it's available, but I like killing two birds with one stone and these kinds of things. And what I'm going to do is use Roll20 in order to get a very strong feel for every shitty aspect and know every limitation that it has, because only by learning its limitations can I truly compete with it. Now, this doesn't mean I'm going to have something that exists immediately. that isn't going to fucking happen. I can just tell you that right now. But that said, I need to break away from the pack a little bit further and individualize myself. I can't keep playing along with this idea that I might somehow get accepted by the alt-right, get accepted by the anti-SJW communities ever again. That's not going to happen. Certainly there are some political groups that appreciate my input on matters, but when it comes down to it, I don't want to be, as much as I want to be part of something, I want to be more than part of something. I want to make something. Which is why today I'm actually going to spend some time with you guys. We're going to sit and work through, and I'm going to resharpen my programming skills to make a JavaScript application. A web front end, a 3D web front end for tabletop gaming. Now, I've talked a lot about this with the Phage, with Ottakeen, and I'm sure others in my Discord server have seen some of the things I've been discussing. And what it comes down to is a whole lot of finicky, disconnected parts in order to pull together a distributed peer-to-peer system. Now, if I start talking in jargon, I'll do my best to explain it. And if I get too jargony, I really request that you'll let me know in the chat so I can clarify. What I mean by peer-to-peer is I don't want to host this myself. I at most want to host the application, but when you run the application, you'll have the ability to click a link on the website, and instead of it connecting you to my server or whatever, it connects you directly to a peer network of the rest of the people playing the game. I don't want to include voice chat or video chat or any extemporaneous bullshit that is unnecessary. For example, I really don't, I think that is a complete waste of time when the focus should be on supporting systems, rolling dice, and managing what the tokens see, what the tokens are experiencing, so that the GM can focus entirely on telling the story. Now, given that I've already said I want to use a 3D environment for this, this also means I'm going to have to do some things that I'm absolutely terrible at, that I have no practice in, like 3D modeling. And with time, I certainly hope I can get some 3D modelers to assist me on this project, if only to create bare bones structures, right? So a very simple low poly tree, a very simple low polygon house, or multiple low polygon house, very simple, like a cylinder and a sphere for a token. That way each player has their token to move around, and from that token they can see their range of vision, they can see where they can go and where they can't go, they can move it around, they can observe their position in an initiative queue, as well as the rest of the initiative queue. Basically provide the support structures that exist in all tabletop role-playing games without going super heavy-handed in any way. Just a bare minimum of absolutely necessary features for doing this kind of stuff online. That said, I'm going to switch you guys over to my desktop now, and as you can see, I've got a weird fucking wallpaper, and you might be curious about this window here. My mouse kind of turns black. So I have Windows installed on this machine for streaming. Let me move myself over right quick. I think I'm better off over here. Anyway, but I have Windows Subsystem for Linux installed, which has gotten awesome in the last few months. It is about, I would call it about 95% Linux in Windows at this point, which allows me to sit here and program with y'all in a Linux environment while taking complete advantage of the driver optimizations for Windows with graphics, which allows me to stream at 60 FPS And that means you're going to get to see these WebGL productions that I'm eventually going to be showing you at 60 FPS as I'm developing the game. Now, at the moment, I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing. Which means it's time to shift into the topic of programming itself. Now, to start, we're going to be using JavaScript, but programming these days is not just about having a language and a compiler, or interpreter as the case may be. These days you need a package manager, you need a build tool, you need a full tool chain, as well as a collection of libraries just to get started and be competitive. Now, it's not absolutely required, you can do so much of this stuff on your own, but I don't want to bog you guys down with the underlying tools I'm going to use. I would rather spend a little bit of time today showing off how quickly those tools can allow me to get started and focus on the programming. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting with two basic tools for Java. Well, okay, three technically, because you've got the basis, which is going to be JavaScript, except it's not your grandfather's JavaScript. That's how I'm going to put it. We're going to be using the latest and greatest in JavaScript production, which is called ES Next, or ES 2016, ES 2017, whatever year is attached to it right now, and we're going to be getting that through a compiler, or transpiler rather, called Babel. Babel is in short, here, let me bring it up for you. babeljs.io. Pop this window out because you guys don't need to see it. Let's bring this over here. Babel is a JavaScript compiler. It's very simple, and it allows you to compile modern JavaScript into old JavaScript, so you can support older browsers. And Vanilla makes a comment about object-oriented programming in it. That is specifically, one of the reasons we're using ES 2015 is that they have done huge improvements on the object orientation within JavaScript. Now, in addition to Babel, we're going to be using Yarn as our package manager and Webpack as our build system, which will allow us to quickly and easily install the packages we need, and then quickly, or well, not so much quickly because it's kind of slow on Windows, but will allow us to bundle all of our code and compress it so it can be loaded quickly and used efficiently on the web. These are our first three tools. So what we're going to start by doing, I feel like, one sec, before we do that, I'm going to go into Preferences. This is going to pop up Visual Studio Code for me. I'm going to change my font size so that this is legible. Let's go with 16, font size 16. I think I have to use let's go with 17. Save. And then we are going to stretch this window out so that I am back at 100 or 110 by 30 because I have very specific things I like to do. Now we're going to be using Visual Studio Code, which is essentially Sublime Text but produced by Microsoft, because I've gotten pretty comfortable with it and I like the functionality that it has. Don't save. Now I hope that's visible. I gotta change my settings in here as well. File, preferences, settings, change the font size over here to 17 as well. And yeah, we're just going to stretch this out and close the user settings, minimize, well, I guess we don't have to minimize it. And we're going to start by making as always, a directory. Make dir crit failure. Now crit failure is the working name of the project I'm working. It's just a working name. The name might change in the future, but I liked the name, so that's what I'm calling it. Crit Failure, as in a reference to rolling a 1 on a d20. And we're going to initialize our directory with yarn, which is going to ask me a few questions. Project name, Crit Failure, version 0.0.1, as in not even fucking started. No description yet. Don't really... I can change the entry point later. Our repository URL is going to be on GitLab. GitLab.com, sevi critfailure.git. I think that's correct. Let me double check that. Yes, alright, that is in fact the path. Let's double check to make sure that... Yeah, alright, that is in fact the path. Author, Sevi Rose, sevi.rose@gmail.com. And, yeah, we're just gonna use the MIT license for now, and nothing private about it. All that does is create a package.json file, which essentially is where we're going to be storing all of the dependencies we're using. Now, we're going to go from that to adding our dependencies, yarn add. We're going to add our development dependencies first. We have Babel core, Babel loader, Babel preset, env, Babel preset, React, Webpack, dev server, and I'll explain each of these in just a moment. I'm just making sure that I have everything, and, I mean, I can't remember, fuck. I'm trying to remember most of this shit off the top of my head. And, unfortunately, that's not the easiest fucking thing to do, but when I run into something that I need to remember that I need to look up, I'll just be looking it up, don't worry. Vanilla mentions Sublime Text switching between Windows and Linux. Honestly, if I'm on a Linux machine, I just use Vim, but because of a limitation with file saving in the Windows subsystem for Linux, I decided I'll just use Visual Studio Code and keep my code in the Windows file system instead of the Linux rootfs under Windows. Honestly, that's a good place to start. Now, I don't remember for React. Do I need to install you as a dev? I can never remember this. Add to... Yeah, see, they want me to use create React app, which means I already fucked up. Oopsies. Oh, what do you know? We can manually install it. Yes, okay, so React is a runtime dependency, so we don't need to add that here. Three.js is a runtime dependency, so we don't need to add that here. So here, let me run this and explain to you what each of these are. Now, Babel core, Babel loader, these are the... this is the compiler for JavaScript, what is going to compile our modern JavaScript into old-style JavaScript for the sake of it being supported on older browsers. Babel preset env and Babel preset React. Babel preset env is basically just, it sets up the environment for Babel and loads in all of the advances like import statements, class statements, anonymous functions, or fat arrow functions as they're called, these kinds of things. Babel preset React loads in the JSX compiler, which allows for React-style programming, which, simply put, is creating web components, and being able to include those in your JavaScript. It'll look like writing XML directly in line with JavaScript, And it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I do appreciate the programming behind it. So I put up with the XML inline model to gain the benefits of React. Now let me give you a quick explanation of what React is. React makes it, but this is from their website, React makes it painless to create interactive UIs. Design simple views for each state in your application, and React will efficiently update and render just the right components when your data changes. Declarative views make your code more predictable and easier to debug. Build encapsulated components that manage their own states, then compose them to make complex UIs. Since component logic is written in JavaScript instead of templates, you can easily pass rich data through your app and keep state out of DOM. DOM being the Document Object Model, which is the system on which your browser analyzes and renders content that is provided to you, especially with regards to JavaScript. And there's also React Native, but I don't think I'm going to need React Native since most of this is going to be on the browser end. Now, getting back to setting up React, we have a lot of... oh, right, no, I was scrolling up in order to talk about... yes, there are a ton of fucking dependencies, and I'm not going to explain every fucking dependency. Just the ones I'm pulling in. And of course, Webpack is our build tool. It's a build tool made to basically draw in code from Node.js packages and combine all the necessary code to give you the smallest, the least amount of necessary code possible, as well as give you the option of including loaders, like Babel Loader specifically here is a loader for Webpack. God, my nose itches. And it will allow us to take JavaScript and JavaScript React files and compile them into classic JavaScript files. And then the Webpack React dev server will allow me to quickly open up a browser page while I'm compiling and testing. Anyway, moving on, we now have to install our actual runtime dependencies. Yarn add 3 React DOM. I don't believe I need anything else. Not entirely sure. Yeah, it wants me to use... sorry, it wants me to use, it just says React DOM, which means means React DOM is going to pull in the full React dependency tree. I don't think I have any other dependencies I need offhand. Oh, React 3, that's right. React 3 Renderer. Now, React 3 Renderer is an open source project that is very simple. Okay, not very simple, it's actually pretty complex. But in the end, it's very easy to use. Oh, and React Size Me. These two things are going to make it super easy to manipulate our 3JS rendering environment in the browser amongst other elements, because we're going to have, of course, we're going to need to be able to have, like I've talked about this with Autokeying specifically, we're going to need to have a simplified character sheet. Not the whole character sheet, but rather just a short collapsible list of all of the things in a character sheet on Roll20 you'd be able to click on to automate rolling the dice. And this is something that's very important for me as a feature of the application, because there's already going to be the dice rolling and chat window. You don't want to clutter up the screen further with your character sheets, but you still want to have direct access to your roll buttons and the like. And as such, I find it, I want to be able to just layer a floating modal over the screen that's just thin and vertical and collapses with the little, folding arrows like this, so that you can open up and do a quick dex check. You can do a quick skill check. You can have quick access to your fort constitution and will saves. This kind of stuff, without having to open up the entire character sheet and dig through, as you're going to see with Roll20's Pathfinder character sheets, page upon page upon page of things to look through. You don't need that. You just need access to your stats, your skills, your feats, your spells, your attacks. You need those quick at hand, and everything else is just math that needs to be hidden away, because you need to be able to roll the dice, and you need to be able to roll the dice quickly and easily to keep the game rolling. No pun intended. Ottakeen asks, will you be able to roll change the roll buttons on the fly? That's something that's going to have to, that's going to take me some time. I don't think that's going to be one of the initial features that I put in. I think it's literally just going to be a list determined by the character sheet itself. And changing it up, adding macros, that's going to have to come later. I want to have the basis of this application before anything else. Now, let's quickly install these dependencies, and I'll show you what has been done here. Hurry up, you little fucker. Gonna make me ramble while I wait on this shit. Yeah, okay, it can take some time to install this kind of stuff. We're talking about very large libraries that are broken up into very small parts and spread across multiple packages. React DOM has unmet peer dependency. 3Renderer has incorrect peer dependency. Well, then fix your shit. Okay, no, it's just going to add React manually, and it's going to... Oh, okay, I see what's going on here. It's telling, even though I've got 3 right here, it's telling me that I don't have a peer dependency. Why does it hate me? Yeah, it supports 0.8.6. I might have to change some dependencies slightly. Oh, I see what the problem is. It's trying to install React 16, whereas React 3 Renderer wants to install 15.6.1. Alright, we might actually have to make our React components manually. Let us take out you and add straight up React here, just so it stops bitching. It's still gonna bitch a little bit. Yeah, see, one little bitch. Prop types 15 for React Size Me. Now, does React Size Me have any version dependencies? It doesn't look like it does. Let's go to its package file and look inside. Yeah, it says above 16, so that should be fine. Of course, prop types was not listed, which means peer dependencies is going to be added manually. And I'll show you what all this is done in a moment. Admittedly, we're going to have to spend time making a React component for Three.js on our own, which won't be terribly hard. I mean, it'll be time consuming, don't get me wrong, but it won't be impossible. We'll just have a much lighter version that is slightly less flexible at the beginning, and at that point we will certainly fix it and refactor it as the need comes into play. Now, one thing I'm going to do while we're doing this is open our working directory in Visual Studio Code, mostly because I like having this here on the side. Now, as you can see, we've got our current package.json, which was generated by Yarn, and it has the name, the version, the temporary to-do we put in there, the entry point, which I'm going to have to change, the repository, my name and email, the license, and then the dependencies we installed, dev dependencies, that's why it had the double dash dev, of Babel Core, Babel Loader, Preset Env, Preset React, Webpack, and Webpack Dev Server. This list is going to grow over time. I'm going to close this again because this is going to finish installing, and once it's done installing, we are going to see some changes to it. So popping package.json open again, now we have a second area, dependencies, with React, React DOM, React SizeMe, and 3. Now, it is kind of curious because it doesn't have the peer dependency of, it didn't automatically add the peer dependency of prop types. However, I'm almost positive node modules, yeah, it installed prop types for us, as you can see by the tab completion. And if I list it out, we've got proptypes.js right there. So we do have prop types. It just warned us because it's not marked as a peer dependency. It's being included as a straight dependency. But that's not something we need to worry about right now. Following this, we are going to need to set up some directories. So let's make some dirs. Make dir p source JavaScript, Sass, and do I need anything else? Well, I'll just start with JavaScript and Sass. And we're also going to make dir dist. Dist stands for distribution. SRC stands for source or source code. And what we're going to be doing is making a Webpack configuration. Come on. Touch webpack.config.js. And we are going to be editing this here. Now, because Webpack runs in the straight node environment rather than running in the Babel environment, we're going to have very limited code, and this file is going to be a lot uglier than the rest of our file, the rest of the code that I'm going to be writing. We still have to include some things though, so let's start with const path equals require path, and const webpack equals require webpack. And then module.exports equals, and we're creating an object there. You always want to have a blank line, a blank end of line, so that there's a gap that the system knows the code didn't cut off suddenly. There's an end of line, a blank line at the end of the file. It's absolutely not necessary, but at the same time, it's pretty standard to do in most code these days, so it's one of those habits you get into. Now, from here, we actually have to start setting up our configuration, and I'm actually going to be borrowing a little bit from someone else's configuration. Because what good is open source code if you do not have if you're not going to fucking use it? We are going to basically, I'm just going to pop open, where is this guy's fucking config? There it is. We're just going to use a, yeah, we're just going to use a basic module.exports that is pretty straightforward. Oh, no, that's not the one I wanted to use. I wanted to use this one. And of course, we'll be refactoring it as well. Oh, no, I clicked the wrong one again. How do I keep doing that like a fucking idiot? Oh, wait, actually, is this one better? I'm not sure. You know what? I like this one better. We're going to use this one. Alright, index.js. We're just going to be, skipping through. Right, that's why I don't use this one. It's using template version 1 instead of template version 2 for Webpack. That's why I'm not using that one. Instead, I'm going to use this one, and here I'll show you what I'm using right quick. I'm going to be using code from JackDBD on GitHub in order to just have a quick reference. I'm not going to be using all the code. I'm just going to be taking out of it what I need and leaving the rest be. So in our module exports, we need an entry point, which is going to be path.resolve dirname. You know what? I like padding my shit. No, fuck it. Doesn't need to be done. Dirname source.js. And then we need an output with a path of path.join dirname dist. And a file name of... Oh, wait, you know what? This should be dists.js. Because this is entirely for the compilation of the JavaScript. Although when we get to adding Sass for CSS, we're going to have to change that a little bit. In fact, I might go and look at someone else's right quick just for that. Oh no, what I'm going to be doing, I can just do that manually. And then our file name is going to be critfailure.js. Now, moving onward, we need to have some module rules. Module. Rules. Nope. Tests. Now this is a, what we're doing here is basically making a JSX. We're going to be testing the files that it finds inside source.js and see if they match the a file extension of .js or .jsx at the very end of the file. This is called a regex or regular expression, and it's used for analyzing text for very simple tests. It's quick, it's efficient, and it is something I've been doing for quite a long time because I was programming in Perl most of my life, and I kind of miss it, honestly. I kind of want to get back to it, but I don't have much of a good use for it. Now, include is going to have path.join dirname source.js. There's going to be our include directory as well as path.join dirname node modules. Now this is what allows us to include our node modules into and compile them for the web. We also need a loader of Babel loader with a query of presets env and react. Did I get that right? I think I did. I'm almost positive I did, just double checking. Yes, that is correct. And we're not going to have any plugins right now. Our entry point is set. This is basically the minimum required needed in order to do the compilation of JavaScript and React-based JavaScript. So we're going to save that. And from here, we're actually going to create our first actual JavaScript file. This is going to be named, index.js. And we are going to start fucking around. Now, what exactly are we doing with this file? We're going to... Oh, shit. Should that be a JSX file? Probably. Yes, okay. Rename index.jsx, which allows us to be... I guess it doesn't actually matter, because we're putting our code through both the... we're putting our code through both the... we're putting both the JS and JSX files through... Well, naming it JSX just makes everything easier on our editor as well. So we're going to call that there. Now, one thing I think we're missing is we're not using ESLint yet, which would be very beneficial, but I'm not going to set that up just now. What we're going to do is we're just going to import... Come on. What's the fucking import statement? I know you're there, React. Come on. Import React. Yes, I am going to be, Googling shit as we go along, because that's just what you do. Import React from React, and that'll probably get changed in other files to things like import component from React and the like. And now we just do a quick little test file. Oh, you know what I'm missing? React DOM from React DOM. Now, React DOM.render h1 hello world, and then document.getElement by ID roots. Now, you may notice something, if you have any experience with programming, you might find it weird that I just stuck some HTML right into my JavaScript. This might concern you, and rightfully so, because normal JavaScript wouldn't be able to support this. However, what we have is React setting up some settings so that this is actual, this is actual code. This is being interpreted by our interpreter. Oh, God damn it. This is okay, that works for that, but I need to actually make an HTML page as well. This is all documenting the code, but I would love to see... I need to include this somewhere, don't I? Oh, right, I know what I need to do. Hello World is just a painless way. Ottakeen asked if Hello World is a typical way to check if something works. Hello World is a painless way to make sure that your environment is working. It's more of a sanity check than anything else. It lets you know, and it differs from language to language and library to library, but it lets you know that everything that you've set up so far is working. Now, We're going to have to set up some other things while we're in the process of doing this. In order to get what I want out of this, we're going to add a scripts section to our package.json, which, nope, that's an N, not a comma, in which we're going to add a few things. Build is just going to run Webpack. But we are also going to have, you know what, I just remembered a couple things that we need, but we'll add those in just a moment. Build runs Webpack. We also need to we need to copy our physical assets into our we're going to have some dependencies that are just straight JavaScript files. We're going to have an index.html. These things need to be kept outside of dist so they can be added to dist. That way dist can be cleaned up without destroying that work. So we're going to have build assets, which is going to use copy files U1, I believe. Actually, I don't even think I need to do that. I believe I can just go copy files. Yes, no, I do need U1. Source, right, let's call it assets. *** to dist. And of course this is going to have its own dependency, so we're going to switch back over to our console. Yarn add dev copy files. And that's going to quickly install because it's just one fucking thing. You know what? I probably need to fix that pure dependency problem. Let's add in a prop types pure dependency after this. And while we're doing that, let's create a new directory, new folder, assets, and in this folder we're going to create a new file, index.html. And we're just going to put down some very basic boilerplate, doc type HTML, HTML lang equals n, head, meta char set equals UTF-8. And despite the fact it's not necessary, I have written more XML in my life than I have HTML, so I always close tags if they're standalone tags. Title is going to be crit failure, and we'll eventually need to add CSS, but we're not going to do that just yet. We're instead going to move on to the body and add a section ID equals roots. And that is basically, oh no, well we need one more thing. We need to also add our script. Script source equals js crit failure.js. Now, because index.jsx imports React and React DOM, this is just going to, well, presuming I didn't fuck up somewhere, this is going to do something very, very simple, and I will drag over a browser when it does. Finish your shit, thank you. Yarn add peer prop types. Hurry the fuck up, please, because I want to get to actually showing us doing something instead of just fucking around with the boilerplate at this point. Especially because we have some, you know, basic 3D programming to do that I would love to get done, even if it's messy for now. And that means we have to actually get to use it, the point where we can use 3.js. Did I remove SizeMe? No, SizeMe is still in there. And of course, by adding the pure dependency of prop types, we no longer have the warning after that single pure, after the info lines saying that it has an unmet pure dependency of prop types. How y'all doing in there? You enjoying me rambling about programming out loud? Because honestly, I feel better, a lot better now that I voiced my frustrations and got to doing something that I love very much. I'm honestly very glad you all are here. By the way, hello, Ghost Dog. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. I've seen your tweets here and there. I don't check Twitter very much. But I'm glad to see you here. I'm glad to see all of you here, really. Oh, hey, J. Will. How are you doing? I didn't see you there. Awesome. There's a lot of people here. I suspect Danica Lee is at work. This is a terrible time for streaming if I want an American audience. Not that I'm complaining, and clearly some of my favorite Americans are here, but others are going to have to catch the stream later. Good lord. Normally I can tell exactly how long I've been streaming, but I've been doing this for an hour and it certainly hasn't felt like an hour. The time is just flying by. I'm loving this. I'm gonna keep going. Don't worry, I'm not saying I'm gonna stop. I just gotta wait for shit. This is one of the biggest problems I know about programming is the waiting. And of course, in this case of waiting, I'm also having to talk. There, now we've dealt with a warning, and getting warnings out of the way is awesome. So let's start just by running Webpack. And okay, yarn run build. We have to run it out of the liar. I didn't save you, that's why. No, save anyways. Compare. Oh shit, right. Alright, well, let's just yank that and paste it in. And then save this one. Oh, wait, close. Alright, no. Fuck that conflict. I'm still not good at using its conflict thing. That looks correct. Wait, no, I added another dependency somewhere. Pure dependency and a dev dependency, didn't I? Yes, I added a dev dependency of copy files. Alright, we're just going to compare with saved. You. Yank you and paste you. Now we can save you. What? Fuck you. Yes, yes. Oh, we lost one of our dependencies. Oh, that's my fault. Okay, that's why. X. Oh, no, undo. Copy files. Delete. Oh, fuck me. Undo. Insert copy files. Escape. Delete. Paste. As you can see, I am quite rusty. I apologize. Now, everything appears to be in order. Check. And make sure it's saved. And now I can run yarn, run build on yarn. Can't resolve. Mount C, user Sevi, hackery, crit failure, source JS. Liar. You are a liar. Okay, let's pop open webpack.config. You know what? I probably shouldn't have used path.resolve. I probably should have just used that. Did I not save index.jsx? It is saved. List source. List source JS. Index.jsx. What's your problem? Oh, entry module not found. Okay, well, let's rename you to just index.js. And try that again. Oh. Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. There we go. Of course, it's bitching about de-optimize the styling of files that exceed the max of 500k. But now we can go list dists. Okay, now yarn run build assets. If I did this correctly, oh, whoops. Alright, let's remove .rf dist star. Yes, I want to get rid of all that shit. And fix our package.json because we do not need a U1 here. Now, yarn run build assets, list dist. Oh, my mistake. I need a U2 there, not none. Now, note to self, note to all of you, don't be as wild as I am with remove.rf, or remove-rf, because if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know your environment, you can fuck shit up. Okay, you're empty, so let's scroll right back. Build assets. Now we have our index.html and we can run builds. Now there's a Babel warning. I want to de-optimize the styling. Oh, shit, that was... I did not mean to do that. Why did I cancel? Copy. Let's run that again, and while we're doing that, I'm going to look up there's a simple way to get rid of that test. Yeah, query compact equals false. I want that warning to go away. List dists index.html and JS. So now we're going to go into our dist directory, and instead of using Webpack, the Webpack dev server just yet, because I haven't configured it yet, we're just going to pull up Python 2m simple HTTP server, and once that gets running, localhost 8000. And as you can see, hello world. And if I pop open the web developer tools, toggle tools, you can see that they're telling me, you know, I should probably download the React Dev Tools for a better experience. Why don't we do that? Yeah, let's install that right quick. Add to Firefox, add Okay, now close you, pop you open. Liar! Do I need to refresh? Yes, I did. Okay. This page is using now Control-Shift-I will give me React tools and allow me to actually connect to the React program. And we have Hello World as the contents of our React program. Now that's just a very simple thing, doesn't show off any of the actual functionality, but it does tell us that our compilation works, that our libraries are running fine, and that we can load this in the browser from all the source code that was written for Node.js. Now I'm going to close that, get it out of the way, close some of the extra windows I've got open, and in about 15 minutes I'm actually going to have a cigarette. Just take a very short break, like 3-5 minutes. I'll make sure to put on some music for you guys, and then we will come back. I will be right back, but right now we are almost to a point where we have quite an efficient little simple development environment, and by simple I mean made of simple parts, not necessarily truly simple. Now let's go with server. Alright, now what we're going to do is Webpack dev server. We're going to create a new command for Yarn that allows us to run the dev server and have it also support things like have it support allow it to run in the background, essentially. So when we change things, it'll hot reload the code. Also, you can go away. So we're going to have it show the progress, which means it'll tell us how it's compiling. We're going to have it show colors, because I love colors. We're going to have it hot swap code out and reload. We're going to have it inline code, and we're going to also have it open a browser window for us. And we need a comma up here, which is why that looks like that. Save. And we also want to add a couple more tools to simplify our toolchain. So what we're going to do is yarn add dev. I believe it's node run all. npm run all. I believe that's what it's called. Yes. We're going to use npm run all in order to run sequential operations, as well as have the option for parallel operations if we'd like. Liar! You do have a pure dependency of prop types installed. Why are you bitching about that now? You didn't bitch about it before. And 15.6 is higher than 15.0. Oh, whatever. We'll ignore it for now. And while we're ignoring it, we're going to go back over to Webpack here, and we're actually going to add in some stuff. First, we are going to add the... Where did I find that? Damn it, I closed it already. We are going to add a line to our query, compact false, which is going to greatly simplify our output. We're not going to have that error about the files being too large anymore. And we're also going to add in a line for our dev server. Now, Webpack dev server is very simple and efficient. And click away. All we really need to do is add a simple single line to the code, well, 3 lines technically, that tell the dev server where to look, and that code is going to be dev server. Scroll down a bit to make sure I get the names right. Content base dist, and then make sure that we've got a comma there so that the linguistics are correct. And you are still building. What's your fucking problem? I mean, seriously, is NPM run all that fucking intense? It shouldn't be. It should be pretty fucking simple and straightforward. Fine, do your thing. I don't care. Meanwhile, I am going to say hello to Emil Koloff. Hello, and welcome to the show. So glad to have you here. I'm so glad so many of you are enjoying watching me fight with a fucking compiler. Now, we actually get to do something interesting here. I'm going to change this to build.js. And I'm going to change this to, and add a new line for build that is going to, I believe it's npm, it's just run s. Yeah, run s. Run sequential build.js and build, oh, wait, I want assets first. Build assets and then build.js. And as we go through and add in CSS, add in other things like that, actually, you know what? We can add that right now to finish off our environment. Yeah. Yarn add dev node Sass. We are going to be using Sass for our to compile our CSS because I love Sass. I really, really do. Oh shit, I didn't save this. Alright, thankfully you can save. Okay, thankfully it doesn't change the package.json until afterwards. I'm very glad it's Zen-like because that is certainly something that I aim to provide. And while we're doing that, while that's running, I'm also going to add in the line for build.css. SCSS stands for, I don't use direct Sass, which is, you know, a lot more compressed. I like my curly braces, so I use SCSS. And this is going to be node Sass wr source s. Did I name the directory Sass? Yes. Source Sass to output to dist CSS. And save. Save. Okay, I don't want to be changing this file too much before this finishes what it's doing. However, we're going to build assets, build SCSS, and build JS in that order. I want the JS last because, I mean, it wouldn't actually make much of a difference since they're not affecting the same subdirectories of dist, but I just feel more comfortable doing it that way. And in the meanwhile, we might as well add a new file to here, critfailure.scss, and start playing around with some styling. I mean, honestly, we only need some basic styling out the gate. Let me pop up the 3JS. You're not 3JS. 3js.org. Use their demo because they have an extremely painless amount of JavaScript CSS to use. Body margin 0, padding 0. Canvas width 100%, height 100%. Oh, we don't need a column. We don't need that there. We are not writing JavaScript with this. We are writing SCSS with this. All right, now the one thing I still need is a clean function, which is going to be with yarn add dev rimraf. A safe version of remove.rf. Pattern rimraf is trying to unpack in the same destination as yarn's rimraf. This could result in that's odd. Now, did this get updated? Yeah, npm run all, copy files, pure dependencies, prop types, 5.16.0. You should be fine. I hate that warning, I really do. Alright, and we are going to finish off our setup by adding a cleaner, which is going to just be very straightforward. It's going to get rid of our dist directory so that we can create our dist directory whenever we run build. Now, do I need Webpack to have anything else? No, it appears I can just run Webpack bare like that. Awesome. Alright. Now, we're going to also be adding a number of other things with time, but for now, I'm pretty happy with what we've got going. Far fewer problems. Admittedly, I did write a lot of this code and practice and knock out some of the bugs beforehand, which is why I had to delete the crit failure directory at the very beginning of the show, or rather the very beginning of what I was working on. But getting that practice in, it helped me warm up a bit, which I needed. Warming up is very important no matter what you're doing. I'm just going to close some extra windows over here. And eventually, in the next hour or two, we're actually going to be drawing to the screen using 3JS. Oh my god. My brain is on Pokemon 3DS. Oh! Yeah, I heard that they're not actually going to be releasing Pokemon on 3DS anymore. They're releasing it for the Switch next. Which, fascinating if you ask me. Alright, there's rimraf. So let us add in some more scripting tools. Clean. This will clean up our builder. Rimraf dist. And add a comma at the end. And I don't think we need to add anything else at the moment. Oh, cancel. Save. Now we can run yarn run clean, and that will get rid of our dist directory. Oh. That will get rid of our dist directory, even if we're inside of our dist directory. And then we can yarn run builds. And it will initiate each of the stages. Copy files, node sass, which there shouldn't be any errors with. And come on, Webpack, waiting on you. Why are you being so slow, Node? Or Sass, rather. Quit being like that. Oh, you know what? We've got one thing to add, which means I'm gonna have to run this again anyways. I forgot to add the style sheets. Link rel equals style sheets. Type equals text CSS. href equals CSS crit failure.css. And of course I close my fucking things. Node SAS is taking forever for a file that's fucking insignificant. What's your beef? Alright, let's clean up and test that out and figure out what's wrong. Yarn clean. Yarn run build SAS. Oh, right. Skus. Why are you taking forever? Well, while it does this, I consider it a good time to go get a cigarette and a drink. So I'm gonna turn on some music for you guys in the background. Just one song, no more than that. And speaking of Pokemon, let's go with some Pokemon music. Alright guys, I will be back very, very shortly. Sorry about that, and the music should be just fading out now. Unfortunately, our dist CSS, our build of dist CSS has not fucking finished. That is bizarre. I'm gonna cancel that and see if taking out the, you know what? I probably didn't give it a file. You know what? I can be pretty dumb at times, and I'm pretty sure I fucked that up. I'm pretty sure I just fucked up the line. No. I did not. Let us take out the WR. And try that one more time. There we go. Yeah, one of my options was fucking it up. Now, let's first, since we've gotten to where we are, let us take a moment and get init so that we can put all this code up on the internet. Vim git ignore, oh well. Touch git ignore. Alright, now we are going to edit a file called gitignore that is going to ignore swap files, secondary swap files, cache files, and node modules. Everything else in the directory will get saved, but all the shit that doesn't need to be paid attention to will not be noticed. Okay. And we'll probably be adding more stuff to this as time goes on, but for now, that will be good enough. Git status. You can see that it is listing all of the files we've been working with. I think I kind of want to add dist to it too, but at the same time, I don't know. It's a tough call, honestly. Some people don't like to add their distribution files because they want to do their releases separately. And honestly, we're not even at a release right now. So I think, yeah, I'm going to pop open gitignore one more time and add dist to it. And it will no longer be tracked by git. Git status. Yep. Git add dot. Git remote add origin. Git at GitHub, gitlab.com. Sevi crit fail. God, my hands are dumb right now. Crit failure.get. Git commit basic and now I'm going to send this up to GitLab. Git push u origin master. Yes, I do want to continue connecting. And it pushes our files and changes to master. And let me show you what that did. Do I have... No, let me show you what that did. GitLab. Now, if you go to gitlab.com/sevi/critfailure, you will see all the code we've been working on here, except for the code that we've compiled. And I'm going to go through and show you just why we're compiling the code in a moment, to show you, you know, the very simple clean code as compared to the massive output that the compiled code makes. Because browsers don't allow you to directly import code. You still have to bundle all of your libraries together. But as you can see, we've got our index.js file here. We've got our Sass file, our critfailure.scss here. We've got all the code here, and if you want to follow along with the code, you can always, whenever I push, see the latest code here. And if I make changes that I don't do on stream, this is where you'll find them as well. And I'll probably be pointing you here to see what has changed. because you will be able to go to the Activity tab and look at the push events. Come on, show me the, show me more, please. Thank you. You can see that it shows all of the changes in a diff format. So because these are all new files, it's all going to be green lines followed with and a plus sign saying that these were added to the file. And these are all the files that were added. It's bitching about not having a new line at the end of the file, so we're going to fix that. Git add git ignore. I'm not going to push this one immediately. And I can make my changes here, and as I make the changes, I can either push them commit by commit, or I can push all my commits at the same time, giving you access to the code I'm writing. Now, let's actually get back to the code itself. Right now, this doesn't really do anything. Hold on, I want to actually do one other thing. Yarn run server. This is going to pop open a tab in my window over here after it builds it. Come on. Finish building. 10% building modules. Built. And now it should run. Correct? Please. There's no errors. And as you can see, it's actually pulling code out of different places, both its own code for the dev server, as well as node modules, strip ANSI, log level, the dev server code, and then adding hot swap code, as well as React and React DOM. Why are you a dick? Oh, I didn't fully build it first, did I? I'm an idiot. Okay. Yarn clean. Yarn builds. And now, if we run yarn server again, or rather, the Webpack dev server, we are going to see it try and compile it again. What it's doing is it's actually compiling. Why is my CSS broken? Where is inspect elements? Oh, right, the padding on the H... Okay, yeah, no, our padding is fixed because... So, if you look here, now we have critfailure.css, which also adds in the body and the canvas changes, which are tiny changes in the end. And we're still doing the same hello world shit, which is not very interesting. So let's get to doing something a little more interesting. Let's actually get it drawing in 3D. This is where shit gets fun, honestly. We have our basic setup of stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to our index.js file, and we're going to import 3 from 3. Now 3, of course, is 3.js. Oh, wait, no, star is 3 from 3. Star as 3 from 3. And we're going to wrap it in that DOM render, but what we're going to do is we're going to add just a little bit of code. And this is all the very basic code for setting this stuff up, and we're going to refactor and move it around as time goes on. Var scene equals 3 dot scene. Var camera equals 3. Oh, you know what I'm missing and will cause problems? New 3 dot scene. New 3 dot perspective camera. Now we have a set of things that we have to set. We're going to set our FOV to 75. We're going to set our aspect ratio to window.inner width divided by window.inner height. And we're going to set our near distance to 0.1 and our far distance to 1000. Following that, we have to set up a renderer. Var, you know what? These should be lets. Let renderer equal new 3.web GL renderer. Renderer.set size window.inner width by window.inner height. Now, this is where shit gets weird, because instead of doing this, we are going to use renderer.dom element here, and we're going to add it to root still. And then we're going to set up a randomly spinning cube. Let geometry equal new 3 dot box geometry. Hello, Lady Justice. Welcome. I'll do a teapot once I have I need a mesh for a teapot. So I do like the teapot defaults, but I need to get a JSON formatted teapot mesh to build in 3D. A cube is a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward out the gates. So we can just do that. A 1 by 1 by 1 cube. Let material equal new 3, excuse me, dot mesh basic material that is of the that is colored OXOFFOO. In other words, a green cube. Let cube equal new 3 dot mesh geometry material. And finally, scene dot add cube. Now, camera dot position dot z is 5. So that's moving the camera 5 units away from the whatchamacallit, and we're going to let animate equal function. Now this has to be a separate function like this, rather, I guess it could actually be equal, I guess we can do it just direct because we're not inside anything at the moment. Request animation frame animates. This will basically every time when we run animate, it'll be waiting for the animation frame and then it'll run the animation frame. We're going to rotate the cube .x. We're going to rotate it by 0.1 on the x-axis and 0.1 0.1 on the y-axis, and then we're going to tell our renderer to render the scene and the camera. And finally, we are going to call animate. Now, let's see if that compiles. Yarn clean and yarn builds. Please fucking work. Now if this builds, it will run and I will be able to drag over a window with a spinning fucking cube. If it doesn't, I fucked up somewhere and we're going to have to spend some time digging to figure out just where that happens. "32-second compile time, not terrible. Yarn run server. I'm waiting. 13 out of 18 modules. Oh, right. Now that we've added Three.js to this, it's going to be a lot more chaotic. It's going to have a lot more to build because Three.js is enormous. And I don't have... Okay. So... I messed up something. It's probably something stupid. Don't worry. Don't worry. Right now, it is drawing this, which is nothing. So let us figure out just what we fucked up. Oh, I know what we fucked up. Well, no, because I set the canvas. So let's take a moment and look at what I screwed up. Inspect elements. Body, section, roots. Nothing got added to it. Why did nothing get added to it? That is curious. I told it to add something to it. I told it to add something to it here at renderer.dom elements. And I also have the CSS, which is determining the canvas height and width to be 100%. It's being told to render. It's requesting the animation frame. I'm pretty sure it's the react-dom.render that's causing the problem. So let's delete that for now and instead go with the basics, and we can force in React-DOM when we need it. We're going to do this the classical way first, which is document.body.append child. Oh, huh. You know what? I know what the problem is. Well, I am in pain, but focusing on... Thank you. Lady Justice asks if I'm okay with the pain thing. And while I am in pain right now, being as cerebral as possible helps me ignore the pain and just drains my body of any focus on it. And the more I program, the less I feel any of it. So while I still have health problems, I can ignore them as pretty effectively. Okay, let's do it this way. Document.get element by ID root.append child renderer.dom elements. Save that, and since this is still running back here, I can just load up. Oh wait, no, I already have it open over here. And refresh. Body. Nothing's getting added. Why is nothing getting added? Why do you hate me? Oh, why do you hate me so? Fine. we're going to do this way. Document.body.append child. The very simplest way. And hopefully, nope, still not fucking adding the elements. Why do you suck? Why do you hate me so much? Am I missing something that I'm not realizing? No, it's loading the scripts. God, I literally just did this yesterday and it worked. But now, it's throwing a shit fit for reasons completely debugger console. Objects are not a valid React child. If you meant to render a collection, but I don't... But I'm not rendering it as a React child anymore. The above error can consider adding an error boundary to your tree to customize. Where? Why are you throwing a fit? Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, I see what's going on here. Alright, so I can actually just undo, redo. Render, document, render, cube, right? Yeah. No, scene and camera. Scene, camera. Now, I can make you an array. And the error you're throwing is use an array instead. If you intended, yeah, okay, so save you. It'll get rebuilt and hopefully refreshed. Nope, it is still object HTML canvas elements. Okay, so somewhere it is bitching about the fact that DOM elements is not in a format that React DOM likes. That is something I'm going to have to address. React DOM 3JS render DOM elements. Okay, let's see. I know people have done this before. Obviously, they had to have. So, this dot mount. Where is this dot mount set? Forgive me, I'm just searching for something because somewhere in this code they have created. Okay, so scene extends component. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. They still want me to use React 3 renderer. But that is... Okay, so in order to create a I actually have to make my own scene components. So congratulations, guys. We are actually going to be digging the fuck in on this. Digging in our heels. You guys get to watch me fuck around for a while. It's going to, of course, throw an error in a moment over here. Well, this isn't going to throw an error, but this most certainly is going to throw the same error it's been throwing. Which means we are going to have to import React component from React DOM. Why am I using React? Do I need to be using React DOM? I don't think I do. However, this is going to be replacing our normal scene. Okay, I get what we're doing here. Alright, so lots of code. We're going to be moving stuff around. We're going to be cleaning some stuff up, and eventually this is going to get refactored into somewhere else. Class scene equals, extends components. And now you guys get to see some of the new JavaScript class object orientation programming systems. Oh, damn it. I saw someone said something. Oh, shit. You're right. Thank you for pointing that out to me, Emiel. However, that stuff's going to need to get moved in anyways after I do this stuff. Constructor, props, super props, this dot start equals this dot start dot bind this. This dot stop equals this dot stop dot bind this, and this dot animate equals this dot animate dot bind this. Now component mounted. Component did mount, that's what it is. Because we are now living in React world. Const width equals this dot mount dot no, I just wanted this dot mount client width, and const height this dot mount client height. Const scene equals, well, okay. Now I get to start adding this shit in here. For 10 dots, there we go. Let's add anti-aliasing in just for the fun of it. We need to add in our geometry and material and cube. I said 3DD, thank you. Paste 3 tab dots. Okay, now fix our, we need our camera position. Yeah, okay, I see what we're doing. I see what I'm doing. What we're doing here, by the way, is called refactoring, and it is extremely fucking important to learn to do this. The art of cleaning up your code and moving it into functions. Let's see, I need to render dot set clear. I guess that's unnecessary. Where's render set size at? There it is. That is not unnecessary. That is very necessary. And alright, so, right. Okay, I get what I'm doing here now. Alright, that's actually pretty fucking straightforward. Here's what we're going to be resulting in. Scene is going to be rendered by the DOM. I forgot that I had to wrap the entire thing in a component for it to work. And there might have been a much simpler way to do this, but I'm going with a manner that will actually show off the functionality of React in the same time. Now set size. This dot scene equals scene. This dot camera equals camera. This dot render equals render. This dot material equals material. This dot cube equals cube. This dot mount dot append child. This dot render dot DOM elements. That's what we needed. And this dot start. Next, we add in our unmounting. Component will unmount, in which we will just this dot stop and this dot mount dot remove child, this dot renderer dot DOM elements. And now start. If not this frame ID. This is where shit gets a little different because we're basically capturing the request animation frame. And then we need to stop it. Be able to stop it, rather. That's not what I wanted. Nor did I want that. This dot frame ID. I like to pad out my parameters lists with spaces because then it's just that much easier to read. And finally, animate. I can just drop that in there, and I've just got to make sure that this is set to this dot, this dot, this dot. Actually, you know what? I don't actually have to use this dot render. Okay. This dot render scene. Actually, you know that. Redo that. This dot scene and this dot camera, and now we update our frame ID. Equals window dot request and animation frame. This dot animate. And we don't need that. We do, however, need a renderer function. Render. Return. Div style equals. I don't actually, do I need to return that? Well, I mean, I guess so, but width 100%, height 100%, ref equals mount, this dot mount equals mount, and close off that tag. And if I am correct, 1, this should compile, and 2, this should... No. What is your problem? Why are you still throwing that exact same error? Space that out. Yeah, seriously, let's... Explain to me why you are being so finicky. Oh, I know what it is. It's pulling from the fucking build directory and not the hot swap. That's why. Okay, let's clean and build again. I probably just put in a ton more effort than necessary. Oh, yes, V bindings. I am all about the Vim. I do love it. And we should actually, once this finishes compiling, please finish compiling. Awesome. Now we should be able to run server and get the results we're looking for. With hope. Please. Please, 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 please. A bug of you. A bug of you. 13 of 18 modules. (24 of 28 modules). 35 of 50. There we go. There we are. And we have a spinning cube. All we had to do was wrap our DOM element in a React component. And we will probably abstract that out further as time goes along because the React 3 renderer is a bit finicky. Now you may notice that we do have a little bit of extra padding. I haven't figured out why it does this yet. It should not have any padding around it, causing it to be spaced out, but we now have a spinning cube. Now, what good does that do us? A fat lot of no good, if I may be completely honest. But it does mean that we have a running application. This is, we now, not a running application, but rather an animating scene. And I'm not sure how good it looks on y'all's end. I don't have DatGUI or RStats installed, so I can't actually view the frames per second. However, it looks like it's running at a fucking... It looks like it's running at 60 frames per second based on the lag you can see it producing as it animates. That said, let us inspect elements. That's why Canvas is... what happens if I don't have resize set up, that's right. So let's refresh it and see if we still... Yes, we do. Because it's going by the window height without taking into consideration the padding. Okay, I get it. Okay, that's actually easy to fix. Let's quickly fix that for now. We can fix that by assuring that our client width is reduced by 2 pixels, literally 2 pixels on each side. And then set render size actually needs to be changed to width and height. Yarn clean. Yarn builds. .31 seconds, and finally run server. which will not take nearly as long, thank God. Or it just might be a little brat. Now, there are, of course, things I could do to speed this up. Weird. Well, that's a weird bug. I don't know how I accomplished that. Spect element. Its height is 150 for no apparent reason. However, it... const height is client height -2, but the client height is much taller than that. That's bizarre. Let's get rid of that for a second. Cancel. Now let's take a break and actually talk about what we're doing here. Now, first and foremost, we have our major components. We have React, because we are going to be interacting between this WebGL interface as well as normal web components at the same time. We're going to have, you know, you click on a fucking dice roll, it's going to roll the dice, and, you know, you're also going to have things like vision radius that is pulled from your character sheet, etc., which means at the end we have to be able to have a simple UI interacting with the more complex UI. We've got React DOM, which is doing our rendering and doing it kind of poorly. We have 3, which is Three.js, our WebGL renderer. And now we get into our class. Class scene extends component. Now, component here is a React component. A React component is, in its simplest form, code that runs and is represented as... oh, I can get rid of this shit. Code that runs but is also controlled and set up like an XML element. That's really the simplest way I have to describe it. The browser can identify a scene and knows, because of the React engine, to call a scene object that was made from this class. Now we have our constructor, which takes a parameter named props, which is just an object or a not a linked list, I'm sorry, a dictionary, depending where you come from, what programming world you come from, and it passes those properties to the parent class. It runs the parent's constructor, in which case the parent is component, and then it binds this.start, this.stop, and this.animate, speaking of which, 6 there, just cleaning shit up. It binds these to this object. So this, in this case, means this object, not this class. It assures that any time this is called, it is called within the context of this object, and it will always operate using its animate, its frame ID, its renderer, scene, camera, etc., etc., etc. Sorry, I was just thinking about the 150 pixels tall error that we got. Next, we have component did mount. This is a function called by React when the component is mounted. Now, it is mounted down here in React DOM.render. So we are mounting scene to the document element with the ID of root. And you can see this element in our index.html. It is this section element with the ID of root. And when React DOM tells it to render scene, that element, that component is mounted. Once it is mounted, we set the width to the client width, the height to the client height. We create a scene, we create a camera, we create a renderer, which is a WebGL renderer. We create a geometry, which is a 1 by 1 by 1 cube. We create a basic material, which is a flat green texture, essentially. And then we create our cube out of the geometry, 1 by 1 by 1 cube, and the material painted over it, the green surface that you see. This is, of course, a mesh, and as we get more complex, we'll be able to inject, for example, a teapot, or more complex meshes like a sphere on top of a cylinder, which is something that is going to be very useful when we get to creating tokens after we make our board. Next, we position the camera further away from the cube so you can see it animates. We then add the cube to our scene, and we set the size of the renderer to our width and height set up here. This allows it to stretch to the entire size of the screen with give or take 1 or 2 pixels, mostly give 1 or 2 pixels. We then save a reference to all of these objects here: our scene, our perspective camera, our WebGL renderer, our mesh material, and our cube as objects as properties of our scene object that is created. We append the DOM element that the renderer creates to the mounted element. So in this case, we are appending our canvas here. And finally, we start animating. And component will on mount does exactly the opposite. It stops animation and then deletes the canvas element, stopping all of the animation that it's doing. Next, we have start and stop, which essentially start the request animation frame process, which is part of how the browser handles vertical sync and knowing when to produce the next frame. So this is basically the tick saying, okay, give me another frame, okay, give me another frame, okay, give me another frame. And then stop does the exact opposite. It cancels the animation frame and clears out our frame ID so that we no longer have to be animating. Finally, we have animate, which starts up the animate process by storing animate as the function to be called whenever we reach an animation frame. We then rotate our cube by 0.1 units on the x-axis, 0.1 units on the y-axis, and render our scene with our camera. And finally, we store the request animation frame for our animation. Shit. That might be part of the problem. I just saw a bug. We do not need this request animation frame here. I just noticed that. Oh, God, I'm so glad I have you guys here. And, yeah, so we rotate everything, we render the scene, and then we get our animation frame and store it within Frame ID so that we can keep track of it as it's going and cancel it if we need to. And finally, the render returns an HTML element which has been implemented in order to capture. There's something weird about this. Oh, right. Hold on. Let me run this again. I want to make sure I'm explaining this correctly. Because the render returns a div that refers to the mounted object, and in fact sets our mounted object for us. However, this does not appear visible at first glance. However, I might have looked right past it. Here we go. It's still bugging up because render... Why is it still fucking that up? This.mount.client width, this.mount.client height. Oh, I know what it is. I know what the problem is. Let's go over here and fix this up by saying that you should be height 100%. And rebuild. Please. Windows, your file system is slow, and only slowed down further by the fact that I'm mounting a Linux system in a Windows system. Fuck it. Control-Shift-New. That's not what I wanted. Control-Shift-Tab. Please open in the same directory. No. Hackery, crit failure. And now you catch up with yourself, of course. Now, we are going to yarn clean and yarn build, yarn run server. I could probably take out the hot in here because I'm not using it correctly at the moment. Honestly, I need to look into precisely how that code gets injected. Because, yes. Okay, no, that broke it entirely. What did I do wrong? What did I change? Why did you die? Section, div style, canvas, width. Fuck you, really? Okay, I need to do something to make it flexible, and I think part of the problem is that it is, if you see, look at this, it's got a height of 20 and this has a height of 0, which means I should not have done this. Save, and in here I'm just going to did I set that, by the way? I should have set those elsewhere. Well, here, let us just fuck around for now. Because it is only drawing the entire page at 150 pixels tall. Now, why it's only drawing it at 150 pixels tall, I could not tell you. Hold on. You know what I need to, might be, no, be good. Let's see. ID, no, root, rather. Height 100%. Save. Will this magic do the trick? Possibly. I'm probably going to call it in after I get this rendering correctly without the irritating pads on the end, because my throat is starting to kill me. And you move a lot slower when you're talking, and I feel like doing some more research before I dive into the next steps, which is going to be actually laying out a grid, which will be our tabletop, as well as setting up mouse control cameras and things like that. A mouse-controlled camera and things like that. Also, WASD is going to be used to move around the field with the camera. Basic functionality. This will be for the next stream, of course. I also haven't slept that much, and after talking for nearly 3 hours, I'm kind of exhausted. But I'm really thankful you guys have been here. It's been actually wonderful. Nope, still broken. View page, sort, no, inspect elements. Div style, canvas. Yeah, canvas should be... Why is my canvas getting set like that? Why is it not following the orders I gave it? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to come over here, and we're going to add... Since it's not your fault, we can just delete you. We're going to add some important flags and try one more time. And if it runs, I will drag it over for you guys to see, even if it has padding issues. This is going to definitely be the least interesting of the programming streams, because this has been all about setting up our fucking underlying system and making sure it all works. Tiny little bugs to fix, irritating little finagling issues that exist with other, other systems, and yeah, in general, just frustration to be found. I'm curious. Where is it? I'm also going to look into dev server a little further to make sure I'm not using that incorrectly. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Yeah, 100% important, which means that this div, which has a height of 100%, it's not doing shit. That's just bothersome. Hold on, there's a way to stretch div to window height. Alright, so our container is ID, root div. We want it to be width 100%, height 100%, margin 0 auto, overflow hidden. And then our canvas needs to be width 100%, height 100%. Oh, you know what? I'm an idiot. I don't need to do any of this shit. There we go. Well, that's all I really needed. Was my HTML to be height 100%. And body should probably have it the same just to be safe. Maximizing our possibilities of getting it right this time. So let's Control C and run one more time. Certainly the most boring part of all of this is watching me fuck up over and over and over. I'm completely aware. But if it's zen, as some of you have described it as, or enjoyable, I'm glad you guys are here. Because we are going to eventually have a 3D tabletop gaming table for use to put fucking Roll20 out of business. Or at least I hope so. Come now, ye faithful, building all our modules. Come now, ye come, ye to compiler Lahem. And of course, it did not work. Because I'm dumb. I've got the proper dock type. Are we in Quirks mode? No. Okay, something I did fucked things up and I'm not sure where. Wait, where are we running at again? Localhost 8080. Inspect elements. HTML fills the page. The div is still shitting it up. You know why? Okay, I know what I need now. So, root height 100%. I realize it's pretty excessive to be doing this full rebuild for only tiny CSS changes, but whatever, it makes me feel better about it. Also wastes time. Ottakeen says, it will be a while before Roll20 suicides, but it's like the trendy thing to do. Be big, make yourself some rope, and hang yourself while at the top. Well, yes, that is the situation, isn't it? So, do keep me in, keep me in check. Remind me to stay small. Here's a curiosity. Did I fuck up something in index.js? There's a strong chance I did, and I'm not even realizing it. Because we've got the... Okay, the render's correct. There it is. Alright. I got it working again. That's how it's supposed to look, give or take, except for the fact it's a little too tall. Oh, what do you know? It's actually weird. I need to... Okay, so apparently there's like a teeny tiny bit of padding that needs to be killed off at the bottom. But otherwise, yeah, I'm happy with this, especially with the fact that I am literally able to resize it. Oh, well, sort of. The more I resize it, the more it squishes. I'm going to have to fix that, which is not going to be too much of a concern. But that's going to have to wait until the next time I do a a programming stream, which will be at some point. Inspect elements. Now we actually have our canvas at full height. And our div at full height, and our root at full height, and our body and our HTML at full height. We'll clean more of this up next time. For now, I am very thankful for having you guys around. This has been absolutely wonderful. Definitely something I needed to do. And before we go, though, I'm going to make sure to push this code, as it is, to our GitLab repository. Git status, git add dot, git commit m spinning cube on a black background demo. And now we git push. And if I take you back over to here, you can now see that the code has been updated with spinning cube on a black background demo, and that code is available here. Next time we will be refactoring this further so that scene is more abstract. I don't want the scene to be entirely hard-coded as to doing this. We'll be doing that by having creating a by allowing anonymous functions and functions to be called by the system, and do this shit. And well, yeah, this shit essentially, and return an array of objects that need to be passed into the merged into the existing object. In addition, we will create the gridded ground that will act as our playfield, and layer on, and this might not be the next stream, but the stream after, and we will layer on our dice rolling / chat window. For now, actually, I feel like taking some messages from chats. Oh, Curated, you missed me ranting and programming. Well, don't worry, you've got a 3-hour stream to watch now, and as it is, what, 7 p.m. over there? You probably have lots of time to do so. Don't worry about it. I apologize, these streams are not going to actually have any set time, because, like, across the next week, I can program for as long as I fucking want, because starting tomorrow, my roommate is going to be out of town, and I will basically have the house to myself. And having the apartment to myself means that I can program and stream as long as I want on whatever I want. And I will be focused on this because I want to get a very, very simple prototype going that will allow me to, well, essentially show people that Roll20 is a pile of shit compared to what can really be done these days. That's the reason that I'm showing off the React components and the 3JS WebGL environment in which I want to work with. For tomorrow's Friday. Given I don't know if Red will want to do a video tonight or tomorrow, I'm going to say I will be doing a stream tomorrow, follow up to this one, and probably like noon, let's call it noon. That way it gives me time to do my normal rounding up the news videos as well. And I apologize that I didn't do any of those today. I honestly, I needed the time to spend with y'all directly and talk shit through. And I highly recommend anyone who missed the beginning of the stream go back and watch it, because I open up a lot about a lot of stuff, and I'd love to talk with you guys about that more as time goes on. But for now, I will swap you guys over to the beloved desktop or rather cover scene, and fade out. Bonsoir, mon chéri. Thank you so very much. Mwah.